Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'd like to acknowledge the Premier of Victoria, the Honorable Dan Andrews, and the people of Victoria for hosting this event this afternoon as a memorial and celebration for Olivia. I want to thank Bumpy and the Christchurch Choir and Aunt Di for the beautiful words and voices that they've shared. And I want to thank Delta for her long-term friendship and support as well. You know, Olivia meant so much to so many. I met Olivia through my friends Jim and Nancy about 30 years ago. And I remember she came to a presentation I was doing in Malibu. And afterwards, we talked for quite a while about rainforest ecology, natural medicines, plants, and animals, and realized there was a lot of commonality in our thoughts and philosophies. And the day got late, so she asked me to stay overnight in her guest house, and I did. And that's where I met Chloe. She was about 9 years old. And I also met her dog, Scarlet. It was an Irish setter who was pregnant. And a couple of months later, Olivia sent me a puppy, Sherlock, craziest dog ever. But we bonded, and he was a really good mate. And Olivia and I kept in touch about this dog. And then one day, her assistant, Dana, called me and invited me to a concert she was doing in Miami. And she said, bring your girlfriend. So I took the dog instead. And you have to understand, I wasn't an Olivia fan. I didn't own any Olivia music. I'd never even seen Grease. So, and this was a small little intimate theater in Miami. And the lights went down, and I heard Peruvian flutes playing. And she walked out on the stage and started singing Pearls on a Chain. And there was this healing moving through the audience. People around me were crying. And I got it. It hit me like a laser beam in the chest that Olivia was a healer. And this is one of her mediums of healing. And the rest of that song, all I could think about was getting her to Peru to meet the healers and the curanderos that I work with in the Amazon. So the next morning, I found her by the pool at the hotel, and I described my experience to her. And I asked her if she wanted to go to Peru. And she looked into space about 5 seconds and said, okay. She said, can we take our friends, Nancy and Jim? And a couple of months later, we were in a thatched roof lodge on the Peruvian rainforest by the Yarinacocha Lagoon, and we took boats across the lagoon and through the Camu fields and out into a pristine double canopy rainforest. And there we met Alberto and Alicia, who were the curanderos, and they had a botanical mixture, and we all had a sip. And then Alicia began to sing the Icaros. And the Icaros are songs of gratitude to the birds, the plants, the animals, all the things that allow the life for the Shipibo, Canibo Indians there. And when Olivia sat beside her on the log and sang grace and gratitude, it was like a piece of magic. And we were in a concentration, the densest concentration of biodiversity on Earth there in the rainforest. And so we started integrating all of this energy. And the second day we were together sitting by the lagoon, we began to tumble like through time and space and had all these recollections from hundreds of years ago and had all this deep bonding. And by the time the sun was setting that day across the lagoon with this gorgeous pink flamingo pinks and oranges and streaks of purple, we were asking each other, what is the main thing you want to accomplish in this life? And we made a commitment to help each other accomplish and achieve our dreams. When we got back to America, she went to California, I went to Florida. She was coming to see me the next week, and she called and said, you know, would it be okay if I'm a day behind because I've been invited to the White House to sing for the president? And I thought, I've heard a lot of excuses, but that's a pretty good one. So that's, you're in. And she came down. I asked her to be my girl. It's pretty corny, but I actually said those words. And we never wanted to be apart. I had business in Europe, so we blasted straight into Europe. And Prague's one of my favorite cities with the medieval architecture and that romantic St. Charles Bridge. But it was cold and rainy, so we spent a lot of time in these little underground bohemian cafes. And we'd each had some hard times in our life before, like everyone has. And we're just talking about how lucky we were to have found each other. And how in love we were, and how much happiness we were experiencing. I mean, on order of magnitude, we thought maybe we should feel guilty because we were so happy. But we decided we'd feel gratitude and just let the happiness run at full throttle. And we went to the desert in Arizona after that, and I thought it'd be great to propose to her up in the Red Rock Canyons. And we went up there and did some hikes up to some ancient sites. And just as everything seemed right, someone would come down the trail or the raccoons would start a rock slide or something would happen and kind of disturb the moment. So we ended up back in Scottsdale that night on Valentine's Day, and I started a little charade at dinner. And the secret phrase was, "Will you marry me?" And she got will, and she got you, and then I said rhymes with Harry. And then out of nowhere, she just said, "Will you marry me?" And I said, "Yes." And she looked stunned for a minute, and then started laughing and said, "You ratbag." But that's the story of how Olivia proposed to me. We came to Australia and met her extended family and visited the Austin Hospital, soon to become the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness Center. And she would want to visit all the cancer patients. And she would go room to room to room. And that just really cemented her resolve to find kinder, effective ways of treating cancer. And it's why the Olivia Newton-John Research Institute and the Olivia Newton-John Wellness Center are so important. It also inspired her to start the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund to research plant medicine for cancer. After Australia is off to China, to the big walk to Beijing. Some of you will remember walking on the China Wall for 4 weeks to raise awareness and funding for the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness Center. And I know there's a few dozen in the audience here tonight who came and joined and participated in that great endeavor. And true to form, Olivia rescued a newborn kitten who had been abandoned to the elements on the China Wall. She carried that kitten for a couple of weeks in her waistband. And one of the endearing things about Olivia was her love of animals. And it was reciprocal. And you walk into the forest with Olivia, forget about it. I mean, the deer come out, the foxes come out, the trees fill with chirping birds. But she truly had an affinity for all living creatures. The singing for her was not only a great gift that she recognized, but it was a passion. She would walk around the house and just break into song. And of course, she purposely shared that gift to everyone worldwide. She's been honored by prime ministers and presidents and the Queen, and recognized with every possible award and accolade for her talents. But what made her most happy was being at ranch, being with the horses, being with the chickens and the dogs and the cat, or sitting in the courtyard just listening to bird songs. She did have a weakness, though, and that was directions. North, south, east, west. It just never fully imprinted on her. She would say, hey, just tell me, turn left, turn right. And I explained that the sun comes up out of the ocean in the east in front of our apartment, and it goes over, sets in the west, and that happens pretty much the same way every day. No, so for her birthday, I bought her a compass. It was a good compass, an official Boy Scout trailblazer that does everything a compass is supposed to do. And I coupled that with a trip to the out islands in the Bahamas. It was gorgeous turquoise water. And one day we took the boat up to Big Guana Key, and on the way back, we ran into a little bit of weather. The wind started picking up, the clouds blew in, the sea got really choppy, the rain came, the wind was howling, and it was like someone throwing thumbtacks in your face. And this was a small little 8-meter runabout with a center console, and the only instrument was a magnetic compass. And I had a heading for Hopetown, but I knew with the sea and the wind and the currents that after a few minutes that we may have kind of been swept out between two islands and be in the open Atlantic headed towards Africa. But she was behind me, holding on tight, shielding herself from the pelting rain. And then just as quickly as the storm started, it began to subside. And the rain stopped, the winds died down, the sun poked through a hole in the clouds, the sea turned back to that gorgeous turquoise blue. And that's kind of when the rainbow started. The big rainbow on the left side of the boat came up around this giant colorful arch all the way over to the right side. And then the dolphins appeared. And the dolphins were just jumping at the bow of the boat, leading us across this calm turquoise sea, under the rainbow and towards the lighthouse. And that really happened. And she looked at me like I was a superhero. I knew it was blind faith and dumb luck. But we both recognized the fingerprints of the supernatural on that. And that's the way we lived our life. Every day with Olivia was supernatural. Every day with Olivia was a bit of magic. Gyroplane is half airplane, half helicopter. And a friend of mine flew one up to the ranch, and we took it up and for some air therapy, just flying low and slow through the canyons out over the ocean. And he said to me, he said, John, when you're lucky enough to find your true soulmate and you share a heart, and one passes, the other has the obligation to live life for both. And that was very empowering for me, that I carry and feel Olivia's presence, her sense of humor, the spirit of adventure, the commonality of purpose we shared. And that gives me the strength to carry on until I find her again in that ultimate space of love and light. A couple of nights after Olivia passed, I was lying in bed, and I felt a hand over my diaphragm lifting out, and it pulled in a deep breath of air filling my lungs. And as I started breathing again, these are the words that fell from my heart. Olivia, our love for each other transcends our understanding. Every day we expressed our gratitude for this love that could be so deep, so real, so natural. We never had to work on it. We were in awe of this great mystery and just accepted the experience of our love as past, present, and forever. At Olivia's deepest essence, she was a healer. using her mediums of song, of words, of touch. She was the most courageous woman I've ever met. And her bandwidth for genuinely caring about people, about animals, about creatures of all kinds, eclipses almost what is humanly possible. It was only the grace of God that has allowed me to share the depth and passion of her being for so long. In her most difficult times, she always had the spirit, the humor, and the willpower to move things into the light. And as her spirit soars, the pain and the holes in my heart are healed by the joy of her love and that light that shines forward. Onward ho.